Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Today we are making a crochet cupcake with a birthday candle on top. The candle's added last, so that is optional if you'd like to leave it off. To make this cute little cupcake, you'll need about 50 yards of number 4 medium weight yarn, and you're going to divide that into brown for the bottom, or the color you want for the bottom, 25 yards, and then your top color, your frosting, will be about 16 yards. And then you'll need different scraps of yarn for the sprinkles, only about a yard of each. For the candle, you'll need about 5 yards of your candle base color. Here it's pictured in the variegated blue and pink, and for your candle flame, about 2 yards. I'm using my 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. You'll want to use the size you're most comfortable crocheting with number 4 yarn for amigurumi. You want nice, tight, even stitches, but you don't want to cramp your hands too much or be fighting with the yarn. I love my clovers for these kinds of patterns. You'll need some polyfill for stuffing, 2 20 millimeter safety eyes, or make crochet eyes if you prefer. I use black number 10 crochet thread for the face embroidery. And then other notions like stitch marker, tapestry needle, scissors, measuring tape. Our gauge for this pattern is rounds 1 and 2. We'll measure 1 inch across. It's not terribly important to meet gauge, but the size of your stitches will affect the size of your cupcake pattern. This pattern is worked in continuous rounds, so you'll want to use a stitch marker to mark the first stitch of each round and move that stitch marker up each round. The only time this differs is when we change colors. Then I will use a slip stitch to make that change a little bit smoother, and then go back to working in continuous rounds. This is an easy pattern, but I will link up some of the techniques we use in the description if you need more specific video tutorials like the magic circle or invisible decreases. And the finished size is about 5 inches tall by 3 inches wide. And that is with the candle. The cupcake alone is about 3 inches tall, and that candle adds 2 inches. Okay, gather your materials and let's get started. Okay, we're going to start with the cupcake bottom. So we'll start with our brown yarn, and we're going to do a magic circle and place 6 single crochet in the magic circle. Pull that tail to close the magic circle. Now this pattern is worked continuously in the round, so instead of joining here, I'm just going to go into that first stitch and work my first stitch of my second round. And now I will mark that first stitch here, and each round I will need to move that up to keep track of it. For round 2, we are going to insert 2 single crochets per stitch. So I've made 1 in the first stitch. I'm going to go back into that same spot, make a second, make 2 in the next stitch, all the way around. You'll have 12 stitches here. For round 3, I'm going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch, move my marker there, and then I'm going to place 2 single crochet in the next, and then I'll repeat that around. 1 single crochet, and then 2 in the next stitch. Okay, after round 3, you'll have 18 stitches. For round 4, we're going to place 1 single crochet in the first 2 stitches. There's my first stitch, marking that. Second stitch gets 1 single crochet, and then the next stitch gets 2 single crochets. And then the next 2 stitches, 1 single crochet each.
and then 2 single crochets in the next, and you just repeat that around. Okay, the end of round 4 will have 24 stitches around. For round 5, we are going to single crochet 1 in the first stitch, and then 1 in each of the next 2 stitches. So the first 3 stitches have 1 single crochet each. Then we will place 2 single crochets in the next, and then we will work 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, and then 2 single crochets in the following, and repeat that around. All right, at the end of round 5 you'll have 30 stitches. This is wide as we're going to go for our cupcake bottom. All right, so rounds 1 through 5 measuring about just over 2 inches, 2 1/4. For round 6, we're going to just single crochet in each stitch around. Continue moving your stitch marker up for each round. You're going to work rounds 6 through 11 this way, and your bottom of your cupcake will start cupping up into the shape that we want. Remember, we're looking at the right side, so we'll want to flip it around when we are ready to start stuffing it. So just repeat this single crochet round through round 11 or until it's about 2 inches tall. Okay, so I've got through round 11 here, and it is still wrong side out. So I'm going to flip it to the right side. There we go. Okay, before we stuff our bottom, we are going to go ahead and put his face on. And so I have all my tools and supplies for that. I have some safety eyes with the backing, and then I have embroidery thread for the, it's crochet thread, number 10 crochet thread to embroider the mouth on, and then some regular sewing thread and hand sewing needles. Okay, so when I am doing a face, I'm going to put the seam here, my join in the back, so my face is going to go on this side. I like to just first put the eyes in and see how the face is going to look there. I have about 3 stitches in between, and I know that I'm going to have the cupcake frosting come over, so that is what, after the top 2 rows, so I'm above, after these 2 rows, above the following one. And then you could even take your little thread and put like where you're going to put the mouth, just get a look. Okay, that looks cute, I'm happy with that. Okay, so when you put these on, the part that comes out, that bumps up, goes toward the crochet, and you just mash them on as best you can. I know these that I have are really hard. And then they pop and snap behind the grooves of the safety eye. Maybe you heard that one snap. So those are on. You can also embroider on eyes with your number 10 black thread, or you can sew little circles, crochet eyes, and put those on as well. Okay, so for the mouth, we want a yarn needle. Okay, so I found my large eye metal needle. It's much smaller than a regular yarn needle. And thread my number 10 black thread. So now I'm going to attach the yarn from the back side and come through to the front to make the little smile. So to attach it, I'm going to go in from the front. So I have about, I'm going to go down from the eye to the left to start it. And then back here, I'm going to pick up one loop of the back of one stitch that's close by, to secure the yarn in the back. And if you flip it back on the front, you can see, you can't see that. So that's how I'm going to secure one side on the inside, like so. And then you kind of weave it away in the same manner, going through one part of the stitch, not around the whole stitch, to hide it on the inside. And then we're going to leave enough to make a smile here and go in opposite over there in the same way. So you can leave it like this, where you have just a little bit loose to make a smile, or you can tack it down with a little bit of regular hand sewing thread so that it stays in position. So probably like right there. So we'll just pull a length here of thread. Oh goodness, my scissors are getting dull. And then thread a hand sewing needle. Okay, so I've got a triple knot there, but still, when dealing with sewing thread and yarn, they are not equally matched. So we have to do something similar to adding the embroidery or the crochet thread, which is secure it on the back side by going around and through. Let me see where I am. So I'm about here. So I'm going to pick up one loop of the back of this stitch and go through it with my needle and pull till I see my knot, and then I'm going to split the yarn or the thread and go between and pull it through like that to secure it. Then I can bring the needle through the stitch and onto the front side, right where I want it. That is not where I want it. Here we go. So I'm going to put it about here, but that's like right where the hole is from the crochet hook, which is too big for this needle. So I'm going to go up just a little. So going to grab the bottom middle of the smile there and bring it down to where I want it and where I am. I've gone around it, so when I go through, I'm going to make a tiny black loop there that you can't see because it's the same color. I think the trick here is pulling it not too tight and keeping the thread even. But that will give it just a little bit. And you can stick the needle back through there. I know you can't actually see this because it's too small, but that's kind of the point. So when I flip it around, you can see now the smile dips down some and it won't be just a straight line. And you can exaggerate that as much as you want. If you want a really pointy smile, maybe we pull it down further down that way for a more exaggerated look. And then when you want it, you have it how you want it, you're going to weave this away on the other side as well to secure. Let's see, where is it? It's there. So again, weaving away through the back of the stitches. And tie it off. And you're on the inside, so you can leave plenty long tails, but you also don't want them to pull through. So just make sure you don't go through the whole stitch. So the regular yarn needle works for the embroidery thread, but the metal ones are much better. They're a little bit smaller and they really work between those tight stitches. I just can't find mine right now. Okay, so we'll make sure we're 100% happy with the face before we move on. I'm just going to tie this gently here before flipping it around one more time. And that is adjustable with your fingers. So, and there's his cute little happy face. Of course, you could embroider on eyelashes and all sorts of things if you want to add a different face. Okay, so then now we're ready to stuff. Now we're going to stuff this part, and something I've learned about stuffing is that you should pull it out and fluff it up before stuffing for amigurumi. So, and you really can get a lot in there. I mean, that looks full, but that's gonna collapse in on itself as soon as you grab hold of it. So it has to be stuffed quite firmly. You don't want to stuff it so much that the stitches bulge and gap, showing the stuffing through, but you do want to stuff it so that it is firm when you hold it. And when we put the top on here, we're going to stuff some more, but we want to make sure that the bottom is fairly well stuffed. Okay, so that is the bottom of our cupcake with our face, and now we're ready to start the frosting, which is made separately, and then we're going to single crochet them together around where they meet. So you're going to pick out your frosting color and get started with that next. So I can cut this. Leave a long tail to weave in there. To make the top of our cupcake, I am going to use white. You can use any color. For the original, I used blue. So we are going to start the same way with a magic circle, and we're going to put 6 single crochet. We'll continue repeating rounds 1 through 3 like we did for the bottom. So for round 2, we'll put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. And for round 3, we'll put 1 single crochet in the first and 2 single crochets in the next, and repeat that around. And then we'll come back together for round 4. Okay, at the end of round 3, we have 18 stitches. Now we are going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Okay, now we're going to increase on this round, so we'll place 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second, and then 2 single crochets in the third, and we'll repeat that around. 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and 2 single crochets. So we'll have 24 stitches at the end of this round, round 5. So when you turn it right side here, you can see it has that bowl shape we want for the top. Okay, so now we'll do 1 single crochet for the first stitch, single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then increase with 2 single crochets in the following. Repeat that around. 1, 1, 1, 2. We'll end that round with 30 stitches. Okay, we want it to be a bit pointier than the bottom of our cupcake. So we followed rounds 1, 2, and 3 from the first part of the cupcake, and then we did 1 single crochet round around. So we kept the count there. Then we did a single crochet in 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochets in the next round for that round. And then for the last round, we did 3 single crochets in 3 stitches, and then increase with 2 stitches there, ending with 30 stitches, and that is the bowed out top of our cupcake. So the next round, we're going to start with 1 single crochet, and we're going to single crochet in each stitch around for round 7 of our frosting. Okay, turning back to the right side there. We want it to be like so, and we'll fit on the top like that. Okay. Before we add it to our cupcake, we are actually going to embroider on the sprinkles and add the candle to the top. So I'm just going to pull up a long loop here to save the top, and we'll come back to finish that after we have got the sprinkles attached and the candle done. So pick out your sprinkle colors. You don't need very much yarn, maybe a yard of each or half. And you'll need your yarn needle to sew those down, and we'll do that next. I'm actually going to use a piece of variegated yarn to embroider on the sprinkles, but you can use different colors that you like, and I would recommend to do it just how we're doing here, which is to run the yarn underneath on the back side to continue the same color. All, like if you want to sprinkle here and here and here and here all in red, then you do sprinkle showing on the top here, and then you're going to float the yarn back and then come up over here and do a red one, and then maybe over here and do a red one, and you'll just have to weave in and tie off the ends that you start and finish with that way. Okay, so I'm just gonna, we're going to join around here and add our candle on this top row, top round. So we're gonna start below the second one there. Let's pull this through a little bit. Oops. Let's see if I can get it to work for me with the variegated yarn. There we go, I hold it. Okay, and so, okay, so I'm going to pull it through. There we go, so we'll start with one blue sprinkle. And now I can add all of this yarn for sprinkles. Just going over one row here for the size of my sprinkle. And just go around kind of however the mood strikes me. Just like that. And you'll want to make sure you have enough there to where it doesn't pull or stretch the yarn for the sprinkle or the yarn for the cupcake frosting. Okay, I'm going to call that done. I might come back once we join our frosting to our cupcake bottom and add some more around there, but everything will be stuffed and done then, so this makes adding them a lot easier. It's a hot mess back here. So here you just have to make sure your starting and ending tails get weaved in and secure so you don't lose them. Okay, so now we will add our candle here around the top. So we are going to join our candle color yarn. All right. So we're going to work 6 single crochet directly into that top round, following the circle of round 1. Sorry, my tail is super in the way there. Go around the body of the stitch of the next stitch, make a 2nd single crochet, and then I'm going to join this first round since it's a color change round essentially. There we go. And I will use that tail to kind of clean that up right there where I have the white yarn. Okay, so now we are going to work with our, in the round with our stitch marker, right? So that's going to be the only one that I slip stitch. Okay, and I am going to start with a decrease, invisible decrease. There we go. And that will be my first stitch of the next round. And then just single crochet around in each stitch. That's a decrease stitch. All right, and I'm back to my first stitch. Flatten it out to see I have a nice little column there growing. So if you can stuff a little bit after each 2 rounds or so, and give your candle a better support.
Okay, for rounds 3 through 7, you're going to single crochet around in each stitch, stuffing a little as you go. You can use that yarn needle to push it down in there. Remember, we're working continuously, so keep moving that stitch marker up to the first stitch of each round, and we'll come back together to move on.
All right, and then we're going to slip stitch the last round, the last stitch to the first one, and cut the yarn, because we're going to change to our flame color, our yellow. So pull up a long loop here, pull that yarn through. Okay, and we're going to weave that down in there. Just take our beginning tail and weave it down over the transition here of the white to colored yarn for the candle, since we have like the spiral. Okay, now we're going to get yellow yarn and join and finish that off. Okay, so now we're going to join our yellow yarn. You can join to any stitch on your top there. And just single crochet in each of those stitches around. And then we're going to slip stitch to join.
Okay, for the second round, we are just going to work 1 invisible decrease in the first 2 stitches. So we go up and under the first loop and immediately up and under the second loop to make 1 invisible decrease.
And then we're going to pull the yarn through those 2. So we have not finished the round, but I have a nice triangle like a flame. And then we're just going to sew away these. So we did 1 round of 5 single crochets around, joined with a slip stitch, and then we did 1 invisible decrease, and we pulled through. Now we'll weave those ends away. So on this top one, we really want to make sure we don't pull too tightly, because we have a nice little pointy tip there. We want to keep it that way. So as you're weaving it in, keep that in mind. Just weaving it around the base a little here. And I'm going to come back through this side where we had our join. I like to use that tail to clean up the joins as best I can. Okay, and that's how we did the flame on top of the candle, which is on top of our cupcake, which of course is optional if you'd like to make the cupcake top without the candle. That is completely up to you as well. Okay, next we are going to attach and stuff and finish off, and we'll be all done with our little cupcake guy. Okay, so now this is where we're going back to where we left off, a long loop on the last round of our cupcake top frosting. Okay, so we are just going to line this up so that we have the point where we're starting towards the back of the stitch there. I'm going to go ahead and grab this tail and pull it through here. These stitches to secure it a little so it doesn't come loose on us while we're working around still. There we go. And I'm going to pull it back out this way so I can weave it in properly and be certain it won't come apart. Okay. So now we're just matching up stitch for stitch, taking out my stitch markers here, and we're going to join them by single crocheting. If you've ever used a single crochet join to join blanket squares, same idea. So I insert the hook in the stitch on my one piece, my frosting, and then I'm going down into this corresponding stitch on my cupcake top. Yarn over and pull through both of those to join it. Now I can mark that as my first stitch, since, okay, and then you can see we have the stitches matched up here. We're going through both, single crochet in each of these to join them. When I get most of the way around, I will stop and add stuffing. Right now I'm just working on joining them, matching up stitch for stitch, like so. And so we'll repeat that all the way around. Okay, I'm going to stop here for a minute and start filling in with stuffing on that other side because I want this to puff up more. There we go. And that's getting pretty full. So I'm going to continue single crocheting around and stuffing as I go here. So I can use my hook or my yarn needle to move that stuffing around a little and make sure I'm happy with how full or not full it is. I'm going to add just a little bit more. I know over time they get flat. I'm going to use my finger to move it around evenly because I really shoved it all on that one side there. Always amazing how much you can get in here. Okay, and then I am going to do my last couple of single crochets to seal it together. All right, single crochet and single crochet. Okay, I'm going to get this guy out of here and make sure that's there to weave in and clean up any join holes or anything I have. I can use that and the tail from my white. Okay, so now what we're going to do is this the little flare out edge of our frosting. Okay, so we are going to, stuffing everywhere, chain 2. And we are going to skip this first single crochet that we're working from and single crochet in the next, like so. All right, so we'll just mark this chain 2 space here as where we started. It should be good and obvious for us. And then we're going to repeat that, chain 2, skip 1 single crochet to the next. And I'll do a couple and then we can see what it's looking like. So we have a nice little flare out there like the top of our muffin cupcake. Okay, we are at the end of our round here. So now we are just going to chain 1 and slip stitch here. to that first chain 2 space. There we go. Pull our yarn through. Uh-oh. Clip that, and we can weave it in. And we have made ourselves a cute little birthday cupcake. So if you want to add more sprinkles, you could do that now. I think it looks pretty good like this, so I'm not going to add any more. But you would just have to weave them in through the stuffing and remember not to make them too tight.